Good morning friends, welcome to DBMS class. So in this class let us see the remaining types of database users. Okay. So in the previous class we discussed about some different types of users like actors on the scene. So in that case we discussed different types of users who come under the actors on the scene like database administrator, database designers and end users. So we also discussed who are the types of end users. So how many types of end users are there? Or give me an example for end users. The example for end users like casual users, maybe or parametric users, sophisticated users, standalone users. So these are all come under the under end users. Okay. So the end user means the users which are the users are the peoples whose jobs requires to access the database for querying, updating and generating the reports. Those are called as a end users. And as we know, the databases primarily exist for their use only because the mainly database is created for end users only. That's why the existence of the or a primary existence of the database is for end users. Okay. So the next one here, let us discuss about the next users. Those are system analysts and application programs. Together, these users are also called as a software engineers, including system analysts and application programmers. We can call them as a software engineers. Then let us discuss what is the role of system analyst and what are the roles of application programmers. So here the system analysts are going to determine the requirements of the end users. End users in requirements ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ first determine ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. So especially a Navy users or a parametric end users, they are going to determine the requirements of a end users, especially a Navy or a parametric end users. We know who the users, which type of users are called as a Navy or a parametric end users. The Navy user or a parametric end users means, so these are people who are going to access the database regularly. Okay, so they make some sizable portions of the database for the end users. Okay, and their main job functions involves around constantly querying and updating the database. Okay, so and these Navy users are going to use the standard queries to update the database. Those are called as the canned transactions. Okay, the Navy users are going to use the standard types of queries and updates. Okay, those queries and updates are called as what? Those are called as a canned transaction. There will be a questions like define canned transaction. So canned transactions means Navy or parametric users are going to use some types of queries and updates for querying and updating the database. Those are called as a canned transaction. But so they have been carefully programmed and tested those canned transactions. Okay. So I have already give some example for a Navy or a parametric users like a bank clerks or and reservation agents for airlines or rails and employees who are receiving stations for shipping the companies or items. So these are all called these are all come under the Navy users. And one more thing you have to remember, you have to note here, these Navy users are not directly interacting with the database. They are interacting with the database by using one application program. Okay, and by using this application programs, they are going to interact with the database having one underneath the layer that is called as a backend. So that backend is nothing but a database. So backend software ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ that is nothing but a database. Okay, and if they want to access the data stored in the database, they are going to use a one application program as a interface. They don't have a authorization to access the data stored in the database directly. So they must use a one data interface. For example, bank clerks. Okay, so they are not directly going to access the data stored in the database. There is a one specific application interface. By using that, they are going to access the data stored in the database. Okay, and this this application program may interact may contains a menu system or options or one GUI interface like a graphical user interface is also there as a application interface. Okay, and in turn this application programs will get the job done requested by the users. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಏನು ಯೂಸರ್ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾನೋ ಅಥವಾ ಏನು ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾನೋ ಆ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ನ ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು retrieve the data stored in the data required data store. It is going to retrieve the required data stored in the database and it will present to the Navy users. So the main job of a system analyst is system analyst, or they must determine the requirements of a end user, especially like a parametric or a Navy users. Okay, and after that they are going to develop some specification for a standard candidate transaction, because they must meet the requirements of the end users. For that purpose they must develop a standard development specification for the CAN transaction. Okay, so this is about a system analyst. Okay, so see here I am displaying some important description about the system analyst. And next one is a application software. Okay, so here the application programmer, so they are going to use the database by developing application programs. Here the application programmers are going to do what? If they want to access the database, so they can be done by developing one application programs. That means they are going to use the database by making a schema, and they are making making a relative constraints that to be imposed on the database, and they are making the database, and they are also writing the one program with the help of which they can interact with the database directly. Okay, so see here these application programmers, they may implement a specific applications as a programs. Okay, they are going to write a one program, so and in that program they are going to create their own constraints, which constraint means the specific set of rules that we want to impose on the database. Okay, so they are making those constraints that to be imposed on the database, and they are going to make a DBMS ready for the use, and they are also writing the programs with the help of which they can interact with the database. Okay, and see here these are going to use a one specific they are going to write a one specific programs to interact with the database. After that they will test, debug and document and maintain these CAN transactions. So these are the main important jobs or a role of a application program. So in this case these application programmers are going to develop one application program such as a C, C++, Java programs, Python. So many languages are available nowadays. So using those programming languages they are going to write a one application program. So using that they are going to directly interact with the database. They are not going to use any interface. Just by using a one application, right, implementing a one application program, so using that they are going to interact with the database. So as I already told, so commonly both software developers and commonly both system analysts and application programmers are commonly referred as software developers or software engineers. They may ask the questions like who are software developers or who are software engineers. Both combining software analyst and application programmers are commonly called as software developers or software engineers. Okay, see here, see. So this simple picture depicts the who is a software engineers and who is software analyst, and combinedly we can say that these both peoples are software engineer. So he is going to maintain the system and he is going to use a one interface to interact with a database. But here in the application programmer is going to develop or implement a one application program to directly access the data stored in the database. So that is the main use of system analyst and application programs. And the next type of users are workers behind the scene. And let us see the next types of users, that is workers behind the scene. So as we seen, the people who is involved in the design, use and administrate the database. Some other peoples are associated with the design, development and operations of the DBMS software and system environment. So these peoples are typically not interested in the database content itself. So those peoples are called as workers behind the scene. Okay, that means these people are these people are going to work on the design, development and operations of the DBMS system and its environment. Those are called as the workers behind the scene. So as we know, these people are not interested in the what data is going to be stored in the database. So in this case, the workers behind the scene, they includes the following categories. There are some categories of workers behind the scene like DBMS system designers and implementers, and second one is the tool developers, and third one is the operators and maintenance personnel. So these are the categories of workers behind the scene. So let us see the categories of workers behind the scene. So first one is the DBMS system designers and implementers, and second one is the tool developers, and third one is the operators and maintenance personnel. So these are the three different categories of workers behind the scene. So let us see one by one. The first one is DBMS system designers and implementers. So in this case, these DBMS designers and implementers are going to design and implement the DBMS modules. Modules means procedures. Okay. So these people are going to design the modules and interfaces as a software package. That means these are going to design the modules and interfaces as a software package. And you can see here this DBMS is a very complex software system. So as we know, and it is consisting of so many components or modules. Okay, and it includes modules for implementing a catalog. So those modules may be for implementing the catalog or the query language processing and interface processing or application interface processing, accessing and buffering the data, controlling the data, handling the data recovery, so or handling the security. So all these modules are going to be implemented by the DBMS designers and implementers. So in this case, they must design a DBMS software that must be interfaced with the system software, that is operating system, and the compilers for various program applications or various program languages. Okay, so when we are going to use a DBMS software, it must be interfaced with our installed operating system in our computer. Okay, and as I told, the application programmers are going to use some different programming languages like C, C++, Java, Python, Pascal. Okay, so those programs must also be interfaced with the DBMS software. That's why they must the main role of DBMS software designers and implementers. They are going to design the modules and interfaces as a software package. Okay. See. So see, this is the main important role of DBMS designers and implementers. So as I told, and next one is tool developers. Okay. So the main role of tool developers is to design and implement the tools. Then what do you mean by tools? So this tool contains the software packages that facilitates the database modeling and designs. They are going to design the tools by using those tools we can model the database and we can design the database. So and the developers are also designing the database system designs. For that purpose, those tools are going to be developed by the tool developers or the developers who develops the tools to design the database modeling and design, and also database system designs, and they are going to improve the performance of the system. Those developers are called as what? Those are called as the tool developers. Okay, and these tools include the packages for database designs. So database the design ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಕೂಡ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೋ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ they are going to design the database. Okay, and they are going to monitor the performance of the database system and natural languages, graphical interfaces. So this is the main task of a tool developers. And as we know, tool developers are going to design and implement the software tools that facilitates the database system designs, and they also monitor performance monitoring and creation of a graphical user interface and prototyping. So all these are the roles of tool developers. Okay. And next type of workers behind the scene is operators and maintenance personnel. Okay. So these person or these people are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the system. Okay, and see These are responsible for actual running and maintenance of the hardware and system environment. So for the database system, in database system day to day life ಒಳಗ ರನ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ರನ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ they must maintain its hardware components and software environment, and they must also maintain the system environment or a software environment for the DBMS running. For that purpose they are going to operate and maintain the DBMS software. Those persons are called as the operators and maintenance personnel. Okay, these are responsible for day-to-day operation of the system where we run the DBMS software. So these are the different types of users of database management database. So these are the different types of users of database. Okay, so again this question will be also asked for 5 marks. Explain workers behind the scene. So in that case, you have to explain all the categories of workers behind the scene. Let us see the next one, views of data. If you have any doubts, you can ask.